Hello, everyone, and welcome to webinar 2 of our 5 webinar series commemorating Pauline Sasaki's work, celebrating her life, Pauline Sasaki's Quantum Shiatsu. I've got Nicola with me.
Hi, nice to see you.
And Dinah is on the video stream. And we've got Gabriella waiting in the wings. She's going to come on a little bit later. Okay, so yeah, we've been a little bit overwhelmed because we've got like 800 people signed up for this series now. It's been very, very popular. So what we'd like to do, first of all, we're going to do a review. So I'd just like to find out whether you actually were here last week so we know how much of a review to do. Okay, so there's going to be a poll coming up. Watch out for that. If you'd just like to vote in this poll, were you there last week, or did you see the recording, or maybe you just tuned in and this is your first one of this series? This is number 2. So just let us know. Well, look at that. The vast majority were here last week.
Hooray.
So that's really, really
Welcome
interesting.
back, everyone.
That's fantastic. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
We've got a very packed program today, so I'm not going to spend too long on the review, especially as most of you were already there. So yep, so what we're going to do this week is we're going to do a quick review of week 1 to give you a bit of background if you're new to this series. We're going to then go into beyond Kyo and Jitsu. We're going to do some practical work on alignment, contraction and expansion, and then Gabriella is going to do some a demo of the alternating hand technique, and she's also going to show us how she used modeling and mindset. So we've got a packed program. Just to review, the theme of the whole series is bringing the body and spirit together via touch. Okay, so we're at week 2. Look, last week we did, we talked about Pauline's background, the Masunaga System. We did some experimenting with the functions of the meridians, and we looked at the Hara Palpation, and we left you with a question, which we're going to come back to at the end of the review. Okay, so we are now going to go on to contraction, expansion, alignment, peripheral vision, modeling and mindset, two-handed technique, and going beyond Kyo and Jitsu. Okay, so last week we reviewed the presenters, we introduced Pauline, introduced the Masunaga System, and we did some practical, the meridian expressions, and then we looked at Kishi's influence with Pauline, and we also did some practice with the Hara Palpation.
You didn't review the presenters, you introduced us.
Oh yeah, sorry.
If you do review us, I hope I get 10.
Review, yeah.
Can I just come in to say there are a few people having questions. Tim, all of these webinars are recorded. They'll all be available afterwards. And the person that's having trouble hearing, try going out and rejoining. That usually works. It's normally a local connection issue. So try leaving and rejoining.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so this is Pauline Sasaki in her office. She was graduated by Masunaga, and she assisted on the 1970s workshops at the Ahashi School. She assisted Ahashi also translating Zen Shiatsu, and she developed the curriculum at the Ahashi Institute in New York. You may have met her in the 1980s when she was teaching in Europe. She was very influential in post-Masunaga development, especially in Europe. Brought together the body and spirit in touch. We talked a little bit about the Masunaga System, how it developed from the Namakoshi method, Kyo and Jitsu, Hara diagnosis, and the extended meridians. One of the important things about the Masunaga System is the theory is that it's a kinesthetic system, a kinesthetic experience of the functions of the meridians, and it moves towards a holographic model. This was one of Pauline's favorite diagrams. The 4 components all have to fit together: the philosophy, the diagnosis, the treatment, and the theory. And we talked about how they all fit together. I did some exercises with you: liver and gallbladder, kidney and bladder. We did working with the expressions and experiencing expressions in our whole body. And then we just looked at how Kishi influenced Pauline's work. And
right in the chat.
Okay, I think you might want to just mute your mic as well, Dan. I think I'm getting a little bit of feedback from your mic. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Pauline and Kishi worked together. Pauline apprenticed with Kishi, and from that she developed many different aspects of Shiatsu, many of which we have evolved and which we are now investigating in this 5 webinars. And one of them was the Hara Palpation, because Pauline developed a technique of a much lighter Hara Palpation and much faster. And last week we tried it out on ourselves. I got you to palpate your Hara very deeply and slowly, and then much faster and lighter. And that left us with a question which is coming up right up now. Okay, the thing about the light touch is you do the whole thing quite quickly, and then you reflect back on the whole experience rather than focusing in on your actual experience of each of the individual areas. Okay, so we left you with this question, and it's the question from last week. Why do you think that Pauline developed the faster and lighter Hara Palpation? I'm going to switch to the chat. I don't usually look at the chat because it's a bit distracting during the webinars. Dinah's typing away. But has anyone out there got an idea of why do you think that Pauline developed a faster and lighter Hara Palpation? All right, interesting. Your influence is less. That's very good. That's one of the things we discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah, go on, Nicola.
yeah, one of the answers, Cliff, you embedded in the liver and gallbladder and the kidney and bladder when you did the levels.
Yes.
So that sense of if we do quite a heavy touch. I remember doing it in Tokyo with the Masunaga school, really heavy touch, slow, to get a good Kyojitsu result, but it wasn't the whole of Masunaga's theory. So when you did the kidney and bladder right from the bones right up to the will, you start to get an answer of why Pauline went into that faster, lighter Hara Palpation.
Yep, and that's a very popular one in the chat. Thank you for everyone who's posting. Many different aspects there, and things about energy moving fast because you think less. It gives you more of an overall picture, reaches the higher vibrations, feels that you can feel a wider range, and also not to influence, not to go into treatment too much. So yeah, that's great.
That was definitely one of hers, wasn't it?
What was that? Sorry?
Not to go into treatment. That was definitely.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
She said, do it as fast as you can and don't think about it and think back after you've done it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And now Nicola and I are going to go on to the slides for this week. You're going to go, oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so, yeah. So what we thought we'd do is just do a little bit of the theory. Oh, Dinah's back. Yeah. And this comes from chapter 42 from the Tao Te Ching, which Pauline quoted quite a bit, because one of the things that happens also is in her work is she moved from Kyo and Jitsu to working one meridian, and Gabriella is going to be demonstrating that later on. And that comes from the Tao Te Ching, the idea that it starts off with the Tao, which creates the one or the oneness or the unity, and that divides down into the 2 and the 3, and then the 10,000 things which represent all of manifestation in the universe. So the idea of Pauline's approach to the meridians was to move from Kyo and Jitsu yin and yang, which is in the middle of this table, and move the perception up towards unity of the whole energy field. And we're going to be looking at some of the practical techniques that we can apply to that in a moment. So what we do when we do that, when we work with the qualities of the meridians, with the faster Hara Palpation, is that we look towards a unification of Kyo and Jitsu, and we're looking for one meridian. It's a more expansive technique, and Pauline actually came across, well, she kind of realized this through having a very inspirational Alexander teacher who worked with her on her own alignment. And it was during then that she started to get very strong perceptions of the energetic field. Before then, if you remember, Dinah, we did a lot of work on the locks. We were doing a lot of work on the yogic locks, years. So there was many years of preparation, I think, before she came across the Alexander technique. And that was just the alignment that really opened everything up. The emphasis is based on releasing the head top and also focusing on the sacrum to provide the grounding. And in a moment, Dinah's going to be leading us through an exercise. I'm really looking forward to that, of actually experiencing the alignment in ourselves. Okay, look at this picture. We found this picture of Pauline working, and it's a great example of how she uses different contractive and expansive aspects in the way that she sets herself up. You can see that she's got a really good alignment through from the head top down to the sacrum. You can see that she's opening up the upper part of her head and floating her head up, and that's providing an expansive feeling upwards. But she's also grounding through the sacrum down into her legs, so she's got a really solid base, and that contractive aspect of the sacrum is balancing out. So she's not kind of floating off into the ether like this. She's not like, it's not like whoa, and it's not like woof. It's kind of really balanced. And also you look at the gaze, she's looking down between her hands, but she's also opening up the vision a little bit there, not fully, but sort of halfway out, just to, again, balance the contraction and expansion in the touch. So we thought we'd like to take you through an exercise. Dinah's got an exercise for us that we can try. And but before we do that, just to get an idea, let's find out how many of you already use Pauline's alignment technique in their work. I'm just going to launch the poll. So let's just find out how familiar you are with the alignment technique. Okay, thank you very much for taking part in the poll. And we can see that about a third of you don't, or between a quarter and a third don't know Pauline's method. So this is new to you. That's great. But we've got almost half, well, we've got 60% use it sometimes or all the time. So there we are, Dinah. There's your class, and I'll just stop the slides and close off my cameras to give you center stage.
So last week I wasn't on camera, and so I didn't get a chance to say anything about my relationship with Pauline, which the others all did. So I just wanted to say a few words. And yes, I see Angela in the chat saying, I remember that. So she and I were both in the same class. We did our third year residential at Devon in the UK with Pauline. And it was the first time I met her. And at that stage, we were using the bandhas, the throat, diaphragm, and pelvic floor, and holding them, hold it, and relax. And that was to activate the central channels. But I've got my notes from 1993 because I attended all Pauline's workshops in the subsequent visits to the UK, and later had the privilege of organizing them. So I had a lot of goings on with Pauline, collecting her from airports and driving her away afterwards. She would always fall asleep in the back of the car as Cliff and I were reading the feedback sheets. She was a joy. So she was tiny, but she was bright and inspirational, and at first a bit scary as a teacher. But we learned so much from her, and she was very modest, but absolutely inspiring. And very down to earth, but I always think connected out to the stars. And she talked in that same 1993 workshop about how we are all made of stardust. And that was the year where she brought the Alexander. She was always exploring and learning new things herself and expanding her awareness and her personal development. And, she started studying with this Alexander technique teacher and found that rather than using the locks, the bandhas, it was a lot easier if you just freed the spine and used the expansive technique of Alexander method. So we'll just do a little bit. Basically what that does is align and release. It frees the bony structures. Ki is vibration, it needs space. And once we can free the most dense part of our structure, it allows us to open the whole of the physical body, and then our awareness can widen out to the layers of the aura and out through the etheric field to the stars. So we start by just simple alignment. So if you'd like to stand up, we'll just do a few stretches first. I hope you can see me well enough and hear me. And we'll start just by closing our eyes and getting in touch with our physical body. So just relax and stand, feel your feet on the floor underneath your hips and relax. Take some easy breaths. And tune into your bones, the bony structure of your body. Picture your skeleton standing here. It's nice with your eyes closed to start with. Tune into the muscles wrapping around the bones and the organs in the center of the body. And tune into your breath. And just see how you feel and where your awareness is centered. And then we'll just do a few moments warming up. So first of all, just get in touch with the central vertical axis and shift from one foot to the other. Sink your ki down through one foot. Lift the other and we'll just shake. Shake a bit of space for the ki to vibrate in your foot, ankle, knee, hip. Shake out the hip. Use the breath. Place it back down. Close your eyes, compare your two legs. Take a breath. Shift your weight across to the big expanded leg and repeat on the other side. Space between the bones for the ki to move. Ankle, knee, leg, hip. And then back to standing. Shake some space between the bones of your hands, wrists, elbows, shoulders. Try and move your rib cage. Shake out your whole body. We're making space for ki and vibration. Lovely. Back to standing. And we'll just stretch the front and back of the body, the central channels, and the spine at the front and back. So take a breath in, fold forward at the waist. Keep the spine extended, drop your head, and let it draw your upper body down. Really relax, feel the whole of the back of your spine opening. Just shake your head a little, create space at the base of the skull. Take a deep breath and let the breath carry you up with your arms extended and stretch up and look up, stretch one arm at a time. Feel the stretch right down to your hip, down to your foot, fingertips to the clouds. Stretch up and now drop your awareness, drop your shoulders down, think down to your belly. And soften and tune into the front of the body and breathe in. And as you breathe out, release the jaws, soften the knees, relax back. Feel the front of the body open. Breathe in, stretch up. Breathe in, drop ki to your belly again, drop your shoulders. Breathing out. And then breathe in, breathe out, and float down, keeping the spine extended, letting the hands drift through space, and completely relax back down to the earth. Tuning into the spine, now just unroll the spine. Rolling up, stacking the vertebrae one on the other, just rolling up. Till you get to the T1, lift your shoulders, drop them back, and let the head float up. And let the sacrum sink down. Just have a little shake. And now we'll tune into our basic aligned posture. And the key place here is the occiput, the base of the skull. So you want to imagine that your head top, your crown is being lifted by a golden thread to heaven. Your head's floating up, and there's space at the base of the skull. And at the same time, your sacrum's sinking down. So your spine is expanding equally upwards and downwards, the same. Equal expansion up to the heavens, down to the earth. Spine hanging like a string of pearls. Picture your pelvic girdle widening, opening. Think down your legs, widen your knees. Relax and open the ankles. Spread your feet, open the bones of your feet. Breathe into your belly. Breathe out, relax. Let the tips of the shoulders drift out from the midline. Make a bit of space between clavicle and scapula. Relax the shoulders. Think down your arms. Relax your elbows and wrists and all the little bones down to the fingertips. Picture your rib cage, front and back and sides, widening, softening, opening. Head floats up, sacrum sinks. Open your eyes, soften your gaze, widen your peripheral vision. And now just tune into what you're aware of in your own energy field. Now that you're released and aligned and relaxed and expanded. You may get a sense of the layers of the aura opening around you. We'll be exploring those later. Out to the widest layer of the aura, which I found in my Pauline notes. She described as being linked to selfless giving to the universe. And that simple practice of releasing and aligning was a revolution for us in accessing all the wider levels, moving from the physical, as she put it, to the metaphysical, outside the physical body, out to the spiritual body. And I'll turn my camera off now.
That's absolutely great, thank you. That really sets us up. Okay, so thank you very much, Dinah, for that practical exercise on the alignment. And I'd like to just do a few slides on contraction and expansion, and then we'll do another practical, and we'll experiment with how contraction and expansion can influence the touch. Okay, so these notes are actually from Gabriella that she sent to me. They're directly from Pauline. And basically the whole idea is that contraction and expansion occurs all the time. It's a bit like yin and yang. And you need both really to be able to experience yourself and also to be able to do any kind of energy work. Both aspects have to be together. The contractive phase, what happens with the contractive phase, and hopefully we'll feel that in a few moments when we do the exercise, is what happens is it tends to create manifestation. It makes things more concrete and more structured. And it also tends to separate things into parts. So going back to the Hara, that means that we'll feel each individual area individually. If we're working on the physical body, we'll feel all the individual parts of the body. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's not like expansion is good and contraction is bad. It's not really like that. It's really how you balance them out and how you use your own energy to tune into different aspects of the person that you're working with. Now, obviously, the contractive phase tends to bring us down. If we go back to the Tao Te Ching, it takes us back down in towards the 10,000 things. So we feel more differentiation all the time. And also the client will feel it too, because what they'll do is they'll feel the different parts of the body. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be part of a process. So if we go into the expansive phase, that means we're working upwards, away from the 10,000 things, through the 3, through the 2, yin and yang, Kyo and Jitsu, up towards the 1. What tends to happen, and you probably felt that when we just did that exercise with Dinah, the more we went into the alignment, the more we integrated everything in that expansive phase, the more we felt everything merging together as one thing, one energy field. And that's what happens. What tends to happen is contractive parts of a body, once we give them space, tend to release and free themselves, and they move towards a creation of unity. And I think we can all recognize that when we've had a really good shiatsu treatment, or we've done some really nice qigong or whatever it is that we've done, or just the alignment exercise we've done just now. The effect of it is a feeling of more unity throughout our whole energetic field. We need the contractive phase though to bring us back into a form, and that's not wrong. We need that, but it's just that balance of expansion and contraction that we're looking for. Okay, now one of the things that Pauline used to create contraction expansion, I've got a great slide later on for that, was she used the peripheral vision, narrowing the vision down to focus in and contract the focus, often used with mindset, which we'll be getting onto in a moment with Gabriella's demo. But also we can use the peripheral vision, and we'll do an exercise in a minute, to again expand our awareness out into the energetic field. So what I'd like to do is ask you if you already use the peripheral vision. Let's just have a quick poll on that. Do you use the peripheral vision technique? I'd just like to check in with the poll and let us know. I guess it's going to be similar to what we had before with those of you. All right, slightly more of you not familiar with the peripheral vision technique. So that's we'll cover that in the next exercise. Okay, so next up, it's going to be me taking you on a little journey, experimenting with what happens with contraction and expansion. So here we go, ready to go. And it's going to be right here. That's it. So I'll turn that off. Great. Okay. Are you ready? You need to stand up for this one again. So what we're going to do is we're going to literally just walk along, okay? And I'm going to introduce more and more contraction into our energy, and we'll see what happens. And I want you to just tune in to various aspects of your energy. But also, another thing is check into what it feels like when you put your feet on the floor. And I'll explain why in a moment. So let's just start off walking on the spot, or you can walk round and round in circles if you want. So we're walking on the spot, nice and relaxed. We've just done Dinah's alignment exercise, so we're feeling fairly integrated. We've got our head floating up and our sacrum hanging down. We're nice and open in all the joints. Now, check out what your feet feel like on the floor. Feels quite soft, doesn't it? And your feet are kind of merging with the floor. So now let's put some contraction into our walking. I'd like you to pick one place on your body, anywhere you like. I want you to contract that one place up as we're walking. I'm going to pick this shoulder here. I'm tightening it up. Okay, very good. Okay, so see how you feel in your body as a whole when I'm tightening this up. But also check out and see what your feet feel like on the floor. Okay, notice if there's any changes. Okay, keep walking. Okay, so now pick another area. I'm going to pick my left hip now. Okay, and we're going to contract that area. Okay, so contracting two parts of the body. Nice and tight. Keep walking. Notice what happens to your feeling of your body as a whole, but also what's happening to the feeling of your feet on the floor, okay? Okay, so just keep those two areas nice and tight. Okay, ready? We're just going to pick one last area, so we're going to have 3 areas we're going to tighten up, and I'm going to just pick this knee. So I'm going to tighten this knee, this shoulder, and this hip, but you can pick anything you like, and we're going to tighten those 3 areas up. Okay, tighter, tighter. Check what it feels like in your body. Tighter. And also just check to see what your feet feel like on the floor. Okay, tighter, tighter, tighter. Check your feet. Tighter, tighter, and relax. Okay, so now it's time to shake out. Okay, now did you notice that as we put more contraction in, even though it was in different parts of the body, a long way from your feet, that your feet felt kind of narrower and kind of smaller on the floor, okay? So now let's see if we can go the other way. Let's walk, introduce the alignment that Dinah did, and then we'll add in the peripheral vision at the end. And then we'll check in and see what happens to the feeling in our feet and the feeling in our whole body energy. Okay, ready? So let's just shake out, especially shake out those areas that you tightened up. Very good. Okay, good. So let's just start walking again. Okay, so we're going to go through the same process that we did with Dinah, but we're going to do it walking along rather than just standing. So let's feel the sacrum. So I'm relaxing my hips, feeling the sacrum, the weight of the sacrum going down into the earth. And now I'm concentrating on my head top. I'm floating the head up. Okay, I'm going too high. I'm going too high. Are you? Are you going too high? Okay, bring that sacrum back in until you feel it pretty much balanced. So you're not going, way. Okay, and you're not going, oh. See if we can get it pretty much balanced between the sacrum and the head top. Very good. Okay, nice. Okay, now we're going to open up the shoulders. Open up the rib cage. So we're just expanding the rib cage out front and back. And we're widening the hips. Imagine the hips coming out like this. Opening in space in the hips. And then we're relaxing down our arms and right down to our feet. Okay? Now keep that spine nice and relaxed. And now check in with your feet. Okay? Now you should feel a lot kind of broader feeling of connection with the floor. And also, we're going to get the feeling of one feeling in our whole body. Okay, good, excellent so far. So now let's add in the peripheral vision. All right, let's see what happens with that. So what I'd like you to do first of all is contract your vision forward so you're focusing on one point in the distance. Okay, we keep the physical alignment with the head floating up and the sacrum hanging down. You got it? But we're focusing our vision directly on one point. So we're zeroing it in. Very good. Okay, again, check to see how you feel in your body energy and check to see how your feet feel on the floor. Very good. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do with me is open your peripheral vision. So now we're going to imagine we can see round like this. We're still walking. Imagine you can see right round. And imagine that you can see right round behind your head. So you've got 360 degrees of vision. Just imagine that. Okay. Head floating up, sacrum hanging down, and we're relaxing and walking. Open that peripheral vision out. Imagine you're looking behind you. Okay, now notice you have a different sensation now, and just check out the way your feet feel on the floor. This is with a lot of expansion in the extension of the spine and with expansion in the vision. Okay, got it? Okay, so now just to complete the exercise, we'll bring the vision back in again and focus it in one-pointedly in front of you. Okay, now do you feel the change there in your feet and the feeling in your whole body? And that's exactly what's going to, if you can imagine what will happen when we're doing shiatsu, when we're in the crawl position, and when we're placing our hands on our receiver, they'll be able to tell by that contact the level of expansion in our own energy field. And that affects at a very deep level what we can perceive of our receiver, because as we get more into the expansive phase, we can tune into the whole energy field of the receiver. And that leads on to lots of technique developments. For example, mindset modeling, and also a two-handed technique where the peripheral vision takes the place of the mother hand. In other words, we scan into the whole energy field and we can assess what's happening with our clients as we're working. And that's made possible by this expansive technique going into the touch. Okay, so now we go over to Gabriella, and she's going to be doing a demo, bringing in a lot of those ideas after these few slides. So I'll just bring the slides back up while Gabriella's coming on here. There she is. Great. So should we just go through these few slides, Gabriella?
No, just start with the first one.
Yeah, let's have a look. This is the alternating hands.
Okay, just before talking about the alternating hands, I would like to go back just a moment to the concept of energy manifesting through a never-ending cycle of contraction and expansion.
Okay.
And in contraction, dividing into parts, and in expansion, merging them together. Because when, I think this was a very important concept that we got from Pauline, when we consider the body in terms of parts, what we tend to do is to fix that part which is wrong, which is not in tune with all the rest of the body. And in doing so, we forget that the body naturally tends to pull on its healthy energy, the healthy aspects of its energy, to correct the body as a whole. So again, this idea of unification, of working not with one part that is not right, that is not synchronized with the others, but working with the healthy energy. So working with the potential, with the strength, and with the healing power of our receivers. That's right. An important, and it is in the expansive phase that we can contact this healthy energy. So it is important that we play with this contraction and expansion, because as you said, Cliff, contraction is natural, it's not bad, but I think the idea is that we tend to be predominantly on the expansive phase. Also, as you said, the peripheral vision opens up and takes the role of mother hen, because it holds and listens and observes the receiver, what we usually did with the mother hen. And then also in Pauline's touch, we have contraction and expansion. So we have expansion through this alignment that we just saw, through the peripheral vision, to a wide mindset, but also we have contraction through the depths of penetration. So what happens when we do this alternating hands technique? That the expansive phase, because when we lean deep, but we lean expanded, we lean aligned. So the expansion phase, the expansion is like a continuum, because I expand, expansion, expansion, expand.
Yeah.
So that makes us get in contact with the healthy aspect of the energy of our receiver, but also gives the receiver this feeling of continuous expanded contact. So it really feels this oneness. Not only can access its healthy energy, but it also has this feeling of being one, which is great, because we tend to be separated. And then Pauline went, as we said, beyond the Kyo and Jitsu, so she was looking for the dominant meridian, and she was working this meridian as light. So as a vibration that was resonating in the whole body, but not only, also in the field. And that was very, I mean, if you try to work a meridian like a function or like a flow of energy or as light, it really makes a difference in your feeling and in the feeling of the receiver.
Yes, yes.
Light.
Okay, so
mindset is a very precious tool, because what Pauline used to say, that we do not have many techniques in Quantum Shiatsu, but it is not so important which technique we use, but how we use it. So mindset is a thought command that adapts any technique to a certain condition or a certain response. So it creates, so it's my thought creating a virtual reality, but then it transforms into a physical reality. So if I think that touching a leg, the chest can expand and open up, and then if I have this very clear thought, then it will happen without me touching the chest. So it's really a very, very useful, I would say it's a precious tool that also helps us use our mind in for the sake of the treatment. So we would say, why don't throw away the mind? It's very important, but you have to use it because in the treatment, to help you in the treatment.
Yeah, I always think Pauline was always said that, didn't she? You know, you've got a mind, use it. It's part of your key. You know, just don't. And I think this slide is great as well, because this slide just shows you how focused you can be. When she really wanted to have something to happen, she would. It was like a laser beam.
Yeah, it was incredible. Her eyes were like laser beams.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we've got mindset, but we've also got modeling, of course,
Modeling
which is another
important tool, because the way we set our energy will become a model for our receiver. So either we release a part of our body the same way we're working on our receiver, and this will model relaxation, or even a certain feeling like peace, calmness, assertiveness, ready to go feeling. If we set this and our energy with this feeling, this will resonate in the energetic system of our receiver. So we become an energetic model for the receiver, and we become two resonating fields. But also, I think modeling emphasizes really the importance of the giver-receiver relationship and resonance, and reinforces the idea that the observer influences the observed reality, which is something. So we are really, as a whole, we are a tool for our shiatsu.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
Brilliant.
so let me get
get your model, and I'll just quickly run this poll. Just wondering how many people are.
Okay, and now get my
if you go and get your model, Gabriella, and I'll just find out how many of you watching use mindset modeling, and it's about roughly the same as we had before. We've got about 2/3 use it either sometimes or all the time. I think it's one of those things you probably don't use all the time through a session, but just at critical times during the session, you can do that. So what I'll do now is I'm going to just I'll turn my webcam off, and Hi, hi.
Hi, so I just wanted to introduce Alana, my receiver for tonight. I have to move my computer. Yes. Can you see me? Hi. Okay. Good. So, let's put everything together. Can you hear me? I try to shout because of the mask. I'm sorry, but we have to wear them. No way. Okay, so first thing I do my alignment. So head to the heaven, Saturn, to earth. I really align myself between heaven and earth. And I expand first in my bones, in my physical body, and then in the space around me. Okay. And once I've aligned myself, I open up my peripheral vision just to have a look at Giovanna and just try and see her beyond the physical side, just to see how her energy is expressing itself, how it is moving, what kind of feeling I have. Okay. And she looks quite balanced, but a little bit excited, I would say, which is okay. Being on stage is never easy. Okay. And then I do my Hara diagnosis. And I will choose heart constrictor. It really comes to me. Okay? She likes it. And then I touch this meridian to just, it's a light meridian. So I just want to see, to feel how this light is expressing. So I just touch it with a very expanded touch and kind of see how it is expressing this light, how it's moving in her body first, okay? And I feel a lot of this energy here and a little bit less in the legs. And then if I look at the feet, if I look around her body, see how this energy moves. It's like very light waves going like this. Okay. And now comes my two-hand technique. Pauline used a lot the fingertips and the thumb, of course, but also the fingertips. Okay, so first I get in contact with the leg. You don't have to be fast by all means. You just have to get on the same page as your receiver. So you want to find the speed that helps you to connect with the receiver. So you may try different speeds. I think this one is good. And then it's a deep touch. Let's remember it's contraction and expansion. So I lean and it's expansion, 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 but I am deep. This is very important that we do not lose the depth of penetration when we do alternating movement. Now I want to try one thing. I want to do some mindset. So when I want to check. Okay, now when I work the heart constrictor on the other leg, I just want this touch, what I'm doing here, to reach the chest, okay? So I want to open up, maybe you can have a deep breath. Good. And when I do this, so I'm deep and as expanded as I can, but also I'm not only feeling what's going on under my hands, just there where my fingers are, but I'm just trying to also see what's going on in the aura, in the etheric field. Sometimes I can also. So now with my peripheral vision, with my mindset, I'm really, yes, trying to get in contact with the whole of the lana. And I really, my underlying mindset is that I believe that I'm really working with her strength, with her potentials. I'm not doing anything on her, I'm just supporting her. She knows better how to do it. Another minute. Now here I'm directing the area where I saw more activity. So now I'm just doing some modeling here, just relaxing my diaphragm, having a very nice, calm feeling of opening, breathing freedom. Myself taking deep breaths. The mind doing some mobilization. Quantum Shiatsu is not in the air, it's a body. It's a body work. It's a work on the body. Okay, I have to give you the one. That's it. Okay.
Gabriella.
I look nice with my mouth.
Yes, you do. I've got matching one here, look.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Some people found it a little bit difficult to hear you, but I could hear you fine. I think if they listen to the recording, they'll get it fine.
I try to be as loud as I can, but with this mask of
I know it's very difficult. Yeah,
it's very difficult. But I think maybe something could be seen anyway.
definitely. We could see really clearly. Yeah, we could see you watching the heart playing with the heart protector meridian there.
Yeah, I was really playing.
Yeah, and also the modeling and the mindset. I think that was very clearly demonstrated. If you want to just check out the recording, I think you will be able to hear the audio. Fantastic. Okay, great. So let's see where we are on the slides. Yeah. Okay, so if there are any questions, you just might like to post them in the chat, and hopefully Dinah, if she's there, can flag them up for us. What I'll do is I'll just review what we've done today. So we asked you this question last week, which was, why do you think Pauline did the lighter and the faster Hara diagnosis? And then we discussed about going beyond Kyo and Jitsu, going into the more the unity of the field. Dinah did the alignment technique. So we had an experience of how to actually create the alignment. We did the walking around thing with contraction and expansion with me, just to give you a sense of how the contact with the floor changes as we put contraction into our body. And if you can imagine how that would affect your touch when you're doing your shiatsu, you can get an idea of how you can control your touch and your perception through the alignment. And then finally, Gabriella did a lovely demonstration showing us the modeling and mindset and the alternating hands technique, where the peripheral vision takes the place of the mother hand. Okay, so that's what we've done in this very intense hour. I hope you've really enjoyed it. Brigitte says that you look much brighter after you've done the treatment, Gabriella. So that's...
Well, it's really good because you do a lot of expansion, you do alignment, heaven and earth. You know,
Absolutely.
It's perfect.
Yeah, that's the great thing about doing that. And I think that's the thing about these energy work techniques is they're very reflexive, aren't they? Because you're modeling, because you're aligning all the time and you're modeling and you're using all the different aspects of your own ki, not just your physical body, but it's very integrative for your own being, really. And that's a really great thing. That's why it's such a great job. That's why everyone wants to be a shiatsu practitioner, right?
Yes. Also, receiving is very nice.
Receiving is great. Yeah.
Can I just say how great it was to see you working, Gabriella?
It was really lovely, yeah. It took me back to when you gave me that session last time I was in Rome. I remember that. I was thinking about that today. I can still remember it, and the interesting thing about it is, in a similar way to when Pauline used to work on me, it has a certain overall quality to it which transcends the individual places and the individual techniques, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? That's what I found when Pauline worked on me. It's like it didn't really kind of matter where she was or what she was actually doing externally, because the internal experience of integration was so strong that dominated the experience as a receiver. So I think that was a really valuable memory for me to experience that.
When she came on to some of her other work, she didn't even have to do touching the body at all, but we would, as receivers, feel it in all different places. It was extraordinary.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right. It kind of transcends the three-dimensional, doesn't it? Yeah. We've got another question for you, haven't we, gang? Yay! We've got another question for you to think about for next week, which is, what is the advantage of working in the expansive phase? Now, we've covered that a lot this in the last hour, but maybe you'd like to think about that, and then we'll revisit the question next week, and we'll think, what are the advantages? Maybe are there any disadvantages? Okay, you might have to think about that, because don't forget, it's yin and yang, and it's not a good or bad thing. It's just the effects. And I said this last week, and I think I'd like to repeat it, which is one of the most amazing things about Pauline was she was just so unjudgmental about anything. She would just be interested in people, whatever they were doing. It was not like, oh no, you shouldn't do it like that, you should do it like this. It was like, oh, well, what effect does that have? What is it? She wants to understand it. She's interested in what was happening, So yeah, that was another great quality that she had, of that quality of really being accepting of all different types of styles of shiatsu, and not being not saying one is better than the other. So
and the same for the clients. It's like, oh, I had an amazing healing after that. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, thanks.
She was saying that,
and the same the other way.
Yeah. She was always saying that's interesting. Happened. That was her sentence.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so I think I've got my very last slide to put up, and I just want to say thank you for Dinah. She's been not only been presenting earlier on, but she's been working away on the chat. We've got lots and lots of hearts in the chat there saying thank you to everyone, and really looking forward to next week. We're having so much fun, as you can see, putting these 5 webinars together. And next week we're going to be looking at the different layers of the body, the personal body. All going up.
Never say that, Cliff. Not layers.
Sorry? Not layers. Sorry. No. Okay. We're looking at different bodies. Sorry, the different bodies. Yeah. Okay, that's the end of webinar 2, everyone. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Okay. See you.
Bye.
Bye.